Well, I'll tell you what, folks. This happened to me a couple of days ago, and I'm sure this happens to you. I'm in the store. There's 100 people shopping, and there's one person on the register. Now there's a long line to the middle of the store. One person ringing, God bless her. Now the line gets down to 15 people. Another 10 minutes goes by. Now it gets down to 12 people. Another 10 minutes goes by. Now it's down to 6 people. Another 10 minutes go by. Now it's down to 3 people online. Then suddenly, like a shot, out comes a manager who says, "Oh, let me open another register." Are you kidding? Give me something. This is 20 people online, and this manager is nowhere to be found. The line gets down to 3, and then she's suddenly concerned about opening another register? Well, it's time for the Gripe of the Week, ladies and gentlemen. You ever drive around and you hear a noise and you're thinking to yourself, where's that noise coming from? And you think, oh no, it's my brakes. Something's wrong with the car. I can't afford to get anything fixed right now. This is ridiculous. And then you realize that it's not your car. It's actually the car in front of you that's making the noise. Your car is fine. Once that car in front of you makes a left turn and is no longer in front of you, you don't hear the noise anymore. And what a relief that is, isn't it? That feeling of relief, nothing beats it. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to complain about traffic today because to get here to this radio station, I have to take Route 4. And folks, this happens to me all the time, and I bet it happens to you, especially on the highways and byways of New Jersey, and especially Bergen County. So you're on Route 4, and all of a sudden you see everybody slowing down, and you're stuck in traffic. You're not moving at all, and you're sitting there in the car wondering what it is. You're thinking, my God, it must be an accident. Or maybe they're doing road work. Maybe they've closed a lane. Finally, the traffic starts rolling. You're at the end, or rather the beginning of what was this traffic jam, and there's nothing. There's no accident. They didn't close a lane. Nothing. We were just driving slowly for no reason. Why? I think it's because of these people who make the slow right turn into a parking lot. There are people out there who do this. They're driving along and they go, "Oh, look, Madge, look, there's McDonald's a mile ahead. Let's slow down now, a mile before the entrance to McDonald's." And they take so long to do it. They take a leisurely right turn. You can almost envision them slowing down like they're machines. "Oh, look, here's the..." It takes forever for them to pull into a parking lot. You could, if you wanted to, if you were angry enough, you could get out of your car and push them into the parking lot faster than them turning into the parking lot. Nothing drives me crazier, ladies and gentlemen. I take that back. There are a lot of things that drive me crazy, I have to admit, and that's just one of them. All right, let's get back into the music here. Let us see. What am I doing? I got all these notes. Oh, yes, we're going to do this. This is going out to Bill in Japan, who wanted to hear Warren Smith on the old Sun record label with Red Cadillac and a Black Mustache, 1957.
Mercy me.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks. Earlier this week, I had to go to the DMV. I had to renew my driver's license. I had gotten a card in the mail, but foolishly I had ignored it. And I went to the DMV website. I figured, well, I'll just pay for it online. You can't. You have to go in and get it done, take a picture, the whole 9 yards. So I'm waiting online. I get up to the counter. Of course, I have to show my 6 points of ID, which is, the birth certificate, notarized letter from my parents about the night of my conception. I mean, they need everything. They give me a number 56. And I think, okay, well, I'm number 56. Let me see, how long do I have to wait? And I sit down, and there's someone sitting in front of me. I swear to God, her number was 22. I'm 56, and she's 22, and she's still waiting? Folks, I was there for, I want to say, an hour and a half. Finally, I get up onto the line. You know, you move from one line to the next line to the next line to the next line. Finally, it's my turn to get my driver's license photo. I guess I just don't take a good picture. I mean, I guess that's what it is. My photo looks like someone's last known photograph. I look like the Unabomber in my photo. I don't know what it is about, though, you know, in other photos, I'm smiling, I'm happy, but someone on Facebook came up with a really good idea. They said the expression that they capture, they're really artists at the DMV, the expression they capture is the same expression you give a police officer when he pulls you over and you're puzzled. Why am I being pulled over? It's that same look on your face. So it actually does match up to the driver's license. Anyway, that was my experience, ladies and gentlemen, at the DMV. My gripe of the week, I'm sure you've got some too. Head on over to Facebook and leave some messages there, as people like to add on to the gripes. Let's move on with the music. This is going out to Paul in Jersey City. You wanted to hear the Passions, 1959, with Just to Be With You. It is time. We have to do it. It's time for the gripe of the week. Yeah, well, there's always something to gripe about. I've talked to you before about pedestrians and their refusal to use crosswalks. I mean, our tax dollars go to that guy painting that crosswalk on the road, and by golly, you should use it. There's little stop signs and cones there. It's for your own safety. But too many people, they just dash across the street willy-nilly wherever they want, and they do nothing but cause problems because people just don't care. You know, the attitude is, to heck with everyone, I'm all that matters. Well, there's something even more insidious than that. Now listen, if you live in Bergen County, you know that Route 4 and Route 17 are incredibly busy highways. And you know that cars barrel down those highways way over the speed limit. None of them get pulled over for whatever reason. I get pulled over all the time. I'm doing the speed limit, but I'm sure you've seen it. And it happens on Route 17. It happens on Route 4. People darting across the highway. Pedestrians just running across. Here's what I think about that. Listen, if you've got the pep, if you have the energy to dash across the highway at breakneck speed like Jesse Owens, leaping over that barrier in the middle and running across, you've got the energy to walk about 20 feet and walk over the overpass. It would take the same amount of time, and people will say, oh, look, I don't have to. I got to catch the bus. I don't have time. You know what I say to those people? Get up 15 minutes earlier. Is that going to kill you? What are the choices you have? To get mowed down by a truck or just wake up 15 minutes earlier? Now it's time for the gripe of the week. And folks, it's the return of a gripe, because this has happened to me before. I've talked about it before, and it happened again. And I'm sure it happens to you too. I'm at one of those big box stores. You know the ones I'm talking about. Usually they have the word Mart in the name of the store. And all I wanted to do was just buy a pair of jeans and leave. That's what I wanted to do. And I get up to the counter. First of all, I'm waiting online. It's the same old story. 6 registers, 2 people working. In other words, they have 4 registers that are idle, crowds of people in the store. Finally, as I stand online there for about a good 10, 15 minutes with my pair of jeans, I get up to the register. I've got my money ready. I pay with cash. And so it begins. You know, the transaction, that should be easy. But no, we got to go through the whole rigmarole here. That's why the lines are so long. Because it's like a one-act play every time you go up to the register. Would you like an email receipt? Or would you like a print receipt and an email receipt? Well, that's not much of a choice, really. What you're giving me here is basically I'm going to get an email from you guys, whether I want it or not. And let me just stop you right there. I don't want it. I don't want your emails. I don't want crap in the mail from you people. Just give me a receipt. That's it. well, would you like to take our survey? No, I do not want to take a survey. What is wrong with you? I just want to buy jeans and leave. I don't want to take a survey. I don't want to sign up for a square dancing course. I don't want to do any of this. And they have me hitting a little computer screen. No, for all this stuff. Would you like to update your update my information? I don't even want you to have my information. You don't deserve it. Just give me the jeans, take my money. I just want you to take my money. Finally, we get to the end of the transaction. I've said no to everything. And here it comes out of the register. I just want a simple receipt, but no, I get the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's never ending, coming out of the register. 1, 2, 3. It's so long. And then the guy has to take the marker and circle. What are you doing here circling? Well, if you go online and fill out this survey, you'll get like a $500 shopping spree. 1 in every 10 million customers. I don't want any of this. Can we just ring the stuff up and get the heck out of the store? That's my gripe of the week. And this is Elvis Presley. That's Wilbert Harrison, Kansas City, right here on WFDU FM. And now it's time for the gripe of the week. That's right. We always have a gripe of the week. In fact, Bill called up before, and his gripe of the week was about his local paper. Apparently, they laid everybody off, and now it's an unreadable mess. This one is going to divide the audience. This gripe, I may lose a significant portion of the audience with what I'm about to tell you, because I'm about to complain about children. Parents, please do not do this. If you have very small children, do not give them the money and have them hand it to the cashier. Please, we don't have time for this nonsense. Here's the $1. Give it to the man. Give it to the man. No, honey, over here. Give it to the man. No, over here. No, put that down. Give it to the man. Give it to the man. Okay, here's the penny. No, don't look down. Give it to the man. Give it to them. You are giving it to the man. You're giving it to this man. Okay, you have to stop with this. Look, I love kids. Everybody loves kids. Who doesn't love kids? But this kid is about, 6 months old. All he's thinking about is pooing in his pants. He is not thinking about handing out the money. First of all, he's going to spend the rest of his life giving money to people. So let him off the hook. At least let him enjoy the first few years of his life where he's not a dispensing machine. He's not an ATM for the state. And by the look on his face, he was not having fun. He was just confused. So parents with the small kids, there's a time and a place to teach your children how to hand over money to people. And maybe you should do it around tax time. Write the check out, put 1040 on it, put your Social Security, now mail it. That's it. That's when you do it. Not when you're standing online and holding everybody up. All right, let's get back to the music here. By the way, that was my gripe of the week. All right, see, if I don't play that at the end of it, it's like the gripe continues for 3 hours, and so I don't want anyone to be confused. All right, here is something for the famous Lynn in Fort Lee. Here are the Shirelles with Dedicated to the One I Love.
This is dedicated to 89.1.
Folks, this week's gripe of the week. Have you ever found a note that you've written maybe a week ago or a month ago, maybe even years ago, and you look at this note, you see that it's your handwriting, and you have no idea what you meant by this note? Folks, I found a note. I guess I must have written it, 2 months ago or so. It was in my pocket, and it read, Daniel 7, shoe. That's at least according to my handwriting, that's what I wrote. Daniel 7, shoe. And for the life of me, what could I have meant by writing that? Daniel 7, do I know someone named Daniel who's turning 7 and I'm buying him a shoe? What does that mean? Why just one shoe and not two? Why did I just write shoe? Is this a message to me? I need to buy a shoe from someone named Daniel, and it cost me $7? I racked my brain. What does it mean? It's almost like someone else wrote this note. The Silhouettes with Get a Job in 1957, the Fascinators and the Jesse Stone Orchestra with Oh Rosemarie, also from 57, Frankie Lyman and his teenagers starting that set of music off. And now, folks, it's time for the Gripe of the Week. You know, I don't mind telling you, I am a sucker for this certain breakfast sandwich over at the dollar store. Now, I know what you're saying. My God, how good could that possibly be? I don't care. I know it's probably bad for me, but gee, it's tasty. And I've had expensive breakfast sandwiches, and they just don't taste as good. But you know what drives me crazy? I go into the dollar store, and I know when they get a shipment in. Maybe on the shelf they've got, let's say, 40 or 50 of them. And I think, well, I'm in business. You know, the next couple of days, I want a breakfast sandwich. I'll just pop in and I'll buy this, throw it in the microwave. Isn't this great? But there's a woman out there. She's my arch nemesis. There's a woman out there who comes along, she gets the shopping cart, and she loads the shopping cart with all of these breakfast sandwich. I can just imagine. She doesn't say a word while she does, but in her head, I'm sure, oh, it's all for me. I'm all that matters. It's all for me. Oh, gluttony, gluttony. And it just drives me crazy because I go in the next day, where is it? And they tell me at the counter, the girl says, well, that woman came in with, now we have this suspicion that she's reselling them because these breakfast sandwiches are only $1. That she's probably taking them to her church and selling them for $2 and making $1 profit off of it. Or she really is that selfish. Now, I don't know where she's putting all this stuff because, 40 breakfast sandwiches, I guess she's got a freezer full of them. One of these days, I'm going to grab her shopping cart as she's going to her car. I'm going to actually give her the $1. And say, I need to buy these from you, apparently, because you buy them all. Nobody gets a chance to eat them, you selfish. That's the Gripe of the Week. Going out to Eddie in the Bronx, People Are Talking by the Heartbeats, right here on the Vintage Rock and Pop Shop. And now it's time for the Gripe of the Week. You know, you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, you take a shower, and you use the bathroom. And you're finished. You stand up and you get dressed and you go downstairs and you get in your car and you drive down your street. Then maybe you drive onto the parkway. And when you're on that ramp, just as you're getting on the parkway, it hits you. You've got to go again. And you're thinking to yourself, now wait a minute. I was just in my own home. I was in the bathroom. I was finished as far as I knew. I wouldn't have stood up. And now I have to go again? And by the way, I have to go like never before? Then you're thinking to yourself, now what do I do? Do I turn around and go home? Do I look for a restroom? Good luck with that, a public restroom. Because this is quickly becoming a serious problem. And if either one of those options are not available, today is not the day to make first impressions, that's for sure. And this happens more often than anyone would care to admit, I think. At least to me. That's my Gripe of the Week. Now it's time for the Gripe of the Week. Sometimes things change for no good reason. A perfect example of this, you go into a supermarket or a convenience store, a drugstore, what have you, and you've been going there for years and years and years. One of the reasons you like going is you know where everything is. You know when you walk in, you've got the greeting cards in the first aisle. In the second aisle, you've got some books. In the third aisle, you've got soap and you've got deodorant, and then you've got candy in aisle 4. You know exactly where everything is, and it's so convenient. You're a king when you walk in. You know exactly where everything is. But for reasons that are never fully explained, the store will one day change everything. They'll move stuff where it doesn't make any logical sense. You know, you'll want to purchase toilet paper, and you'd think it would be by the tissues, but no, now the toilet paper is located near the zucchini. You know, and you think, what is the logic here? And this happened to me, and I asked a store manager, I said, why is this? I mean, you guys had a great setup here. Everything made sense. We all knew where everything was. Why did you change it? And he said, well, you know, there was a store in Cleveland that did really well by putting the toilet paper next to the zucchini. So they decided, corporate decided, everybody was going to have to do that from now on. And I said, well, that doesn't make it, you know, Cleveland is not New Jersey. Just because something works over there doesn't mean it's going to work over here. I hate when they do that. You know, just when you get used to everything, and then you have to get used to the new routine. You know, and then finally you get used to that. That might take several years. And then you're thinking, okay, now I've got it. I know where everything is. And then, boom, they change it again. That is my gripe of the week. Now it's time for the gripe of the week. Well, you're at a store, and there's a long line. We already know this. There's always going to be a long line, despite the fact they have 5 registers. They only have 2 people on those registers. I don't know what those other registers are there for show? Anyway, let's not get into it. But you're online, and the person behind you is standing so close to you, they are literally breathing down your neck. I don't know what it is about people. Spread out a little bit. There's no need to be in everybody's face. You know, I'm standing there and I'm holding, I don't know, toilet paper and toothpaste or whatever I'm buying. And over my shoulder, I'm feeling this hot air, this. Listen, I understand this is a lonely, lonely world. People are lonely and they are desperate for human contact. They want to touch other human beings. I understand it. Listen, that ain't me. I don't want to touch nobody. Well, maybe a few people, but in general, nobody. Give people some space. There's no need to be intimate with someone online at the grocery store. And that is my gripe of the week. And maybe you've got them too, so go on over to our Facebook page, the Vintage Rock and Pop Shop over on Facebook, and go. Feel free at the thread for the show to type them. Hey, I want to say hello to Greg and Spencer and Core, and Jay and Patty and Scott and Joanne and Anita and Susan and Joe and Michael and Tim T. Everybody joining us over on our Facebook page. All right, let's get back to the music. This is going out to Jody, who wanted to hear from 1957, Louis Prima, ladies and gentlemen. When You're Smiling. And now it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the gripe of the week. Now, this happened to me just the other day, and I bet it happens to you all the time. You're in your car, you're pulling into the parking lot of a store, any place where there's not much parking. I mean, you know, every spot is filled, and you have to wait to get a spot. And you see these people getting into their car, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. You put on your blinker, you give them a little space so they can pull out, and you can pull right in. There's no one else around who's looking to steal that spot from you. You know this spot is as good as yours. And the people get in the car, and then they just sit there. for what seems like an eternity. You know, you'll see the brake lights come on. Oh, my God, here they go. They're backing out. And then they don't. They just sit there. What are they doing? Then you wonder, maybe they've passed away. It could happen. Getting ready to pull out, and they pull out all right into the afterlife. And you're sitting there. You reach the boiling point. You reach it where you say, you know, this is it. I can't deal with these people. I'm going to try looking for a space somewhere else. Why aren't they pulling out of this parking space? How hard could this be? They're finished shopping. They've unloaded the grocery cart. They've put the groceries in the car. They've gotten in the car. They've turned on the ignition. The engine is on. What are they doing just sitting there? And just when you get to that breaking point where you can't take it anymore, after, I don't know, 6 minutes, 7 minutes of waiting, then finally they pull out. And then they give you a little wave, you know. Okay, there you go. Time is very valuable, folks. We can't have other people wasting our time. We do a good enough job of it on our own. We don't need other people wasting our time. And that is my gripe of the week. Now, this next song here is going out to Molly in Buffalo. It's Dean Martin with Return to Me.
89.1.
Now it's time for the gripe of the week. You know, I am one of those poor misbegotten people that refuses to go to a doctor. You know, it's just a terrible thing. I know. I just don't like doing it. I don't like the hassle, you know, but people say to me, go to the doctor. Would you just go to the doctor? This is ridiculous. Go to the doctor, get it checked out. Don't be stupid. Go to the doctor. And finally, after all the nagging they do, you say, all right, I will go. All right, just to satisfy you, I will go. Just to get you off my back, I will go to the doctor. And then you go to the doctor, and the doctor examines you and gives you a diagnosis. You come back, and your friend says, well, did you go to the doctor? And you say, well, yeah, I did. And he said X, Y, and Z. And then your friend will say, they don't know what they're talking about, those doctors. I mean, they're just, he's saying that just to scare you. He's saying that because he wants to make money. He's saying that, what was all this stuff about go to the doctor? Would you go to the doctor? And now all of a sudden, the doctor's advice is null and void. Your friend knows better. That's my gripe of the week. Now it's time for the gripe of the week. You know, folks, this is going to be a short gripe because there's really not much I can do to elaborate on this gripe and make it longer than it needs to be. Because when I say it, you will immediately relate to what I'm saying and you will know exactly what I mean and you will feel as equally frustrated as I do about this. Let's say you are busy doing something. You're sitting, maybe you're doing your taxes. You are doing something that requires your concentration. You need to focus on the job at hand. Someone, a friend, a family member, doesn't matter, someone comes over, sees that you are doing something that requires your undivided attention, sits down and starts talking to you as you're working. You don't want to be rude. You might go, yeah, But all the while you're thinking to yourself, do they not know that I am concentrating on something? And it goes on and on. They just keep talking. And then you start to get a little rude in your responses, thinking maybe they'll take the hint. But they don't. And all the while, they're talking about who knows, who cares what they're talking about. And in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, stop talking. Please, stop talking. That is my gripe of the week. I don't know about you, but if I have any kind of food that's in a fridge, either here at the radio station or elsewhere, I have to put a tag on it with my name because I can't prevent people from stealing my food. I don't know what it is about food that makes people think they can just have at it without asking. Did I ever tell you the pickle story? This is the greatest story in the world. So a friend of mine gets me a big jar of pickles. This was when I was on my crash diet. I brought it here to the radio station. I was doing some work here, so I had it downstairs. And when I left, I realized about halfway home, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I left the jar of pickles at the radio station. No problem. I'll go back the next day and I'll pick up the jar and bring it home. So I returned the next day. Folks, not only were the pickles gone, the jar was gone too. The whole thing. The whole thing. I could understand one pickle, maybe two. I could understand people seeing it and thinking, oh, this must be for everybody. But literally, they took the jar, everything. Not even 24 hours. What is it about food that makes people think they can just take what they want? It seems to only be food. I mean, it's not clothes. You don't walk down the street and see a friend of yours wearing your pants. You know, that you never see. Oh, my. Bill, are those my pants? Oh, yeah, they're your pants, sure. I just saw them and I put them on, that's all. And I'm laying around the house in your pants. What's the big deal? Aren't your pants for everybody? And that's my gripe of the week. All right, let's get back to the music. This is going out to Steve. I believe Steve is in Hackensack, who wanted to hear from 1960. And this is sort of a hit on this show, this song. It really is, because it's been requested several times since we had Dodie Stevens as a guest. Here she is with her version of Over the Rainbow. Today on the show, we have another special guest. We have a young lady here who is beginning her radio journey. It's Julie.
Hola.
There she is. And you're going to be sitting in for this hour.
I am very excited.
Hey, listen, it's time for the gripe of the week. You know, Julie, I'm almost embarrassed to mention this gripe to you, but I'm going to do it anyway. I am not the sort of person who likes to talk about bathroom activities.
It's okay, I don't judge.
Certainly, we just met a little while ago, so here it comes,
Only
though.
way to get closer.
Exactly. So I have two gripes. It just seems like I'm constantly being inconvenienced. It seems to me that every time I go to use the bathroom, and I'm not going to get into if I'm standing. We're not going to get into that. But every time I go to use the bathroom, either the phone rings or there's someone at the door. Every single time. It's almost like there's a conspiracy. Now, you could say, and people have said, well, it's a coincidence. I go, every time I go to use the bathroom, the phone rings. If it happens all the time, it's no longer a coincidence.
I'm with you. I think it's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy, or
so.
it's some kind of a routine.
Yeah.
And then it happens so often that I'm beginning to think that maybe I'm causing it. You know, like maybe when I get the urge, it's sending a signal somehow psychically for people to call me. And the other thing that bugs me is just yesterday. Now, people don't know this. They know that I get my 2 slices of pizza, 1 slice pepperoni, 1 slice sausage after the show. But on Saturdays, I always eat fried chicken. Okay. Every Saturday night. And so I drive by the place. I'm not going to mention the name. Let's just say a famous sailor is the, I don't know how that happened. I mean, you would think that this sailor character would be into seafood or spinach or something, but whatever. So I drive by this place and I look in and I see there's maybe 2 people online. And I say, okay, that's fine. You know, 2 people online. I'll park. I'll go in. Mm-hmm. By the time I park and I walk into the store, now there's 30 people online. Mm-hmm. Where are they coming from?
I think that's a conspiracy too.
How is
They
it
know.
happening? How is it?
They know.
The time I parked the car to walking up to the store, somehow 30 people got ahead of me. It took like 45 minutes to get chicken from a sailor.
Wow.
That's what it took. And anyway, folks, that is my gripe of the week. All right, let's get back to the music. This is going out to Norm. This is actually a little piece of music. It's short. It's about 2 minutes from the Marlon Brando biker film, The Wild One, which is a Stanley Kramer movie. And this is Lee Marvin's theme. His character is called Chino. So here's Leith Stevens and his All-Stars 1953 with Chino right here on the Vintage Rock and Pop Shop.